Yes, peace and love, wonderful family. Welcome to the 54 corresponding show on the Blackwood Fan Network Media for the 21st century. Being on a beautiful Friday, the 8th day of the month of April, the year is 2022. It's actually 15 minutes to 3 p.m. right here in Nairobi, hot afternoon in the city. And we want to welcome each and every one of us to the broadcast where we get to discuss matters that have to do with the continent of Africa with the aim of getting to understand Africa better in regards to the political perspective, social economic perspectives, historical perspectives, even looking into the future of the beautiful continent. We get to discuss all those particular issues right here on the Fit4 Corresponding Show with the Blackwood Fan Talk. In case you're joining us for the very first time, my name is Spikes, and of course, I would urge you to, of course, check us out on the official network website, which is www.blackwoodfirenetwork.com, and find out what's good, what's popular, what's happening, what's not. You are able to interact with everyone else also on the network by clicking on the social page right there on the Blackwood Fire Network Media for the 21st century. Sister Libera, are you saying a hi, family? Hi to you too. I hope that you're doing fantastic. Are you saying I will be speaking today on the great achievements and strides towards a restaurant in Tanzania, Keith and the gang has made. Yes, it's wonderful seeing that, it's not just about the talk. It's also about the work. When you're talking about doing something, you cannot always be about talking and talking and talking and talking. It's also important that you get out of your comfort zone and also get to do. You might talk the whole day, talk the whole year, talk the whole decade. But then again, when it comes to action, you're not doing a lot. And therefore, it's still important that you also follow up your talk and walk the talk as well. And on the broadcast, today we shall be discussing Burkina Faso. That shall be our focus for the day. We shall also be looking into the looming hunger food crisis that is, of course, coming, which is imminent on the continent of Africa as well as other parts of the world. But our focus, of course, being on the Fit4 corresponding, shall be limited towards the African continent for now. So I want to share with us some wonderful proverbs from Burkina Faso. The people of Burkina Faso, they are called as they are known as the Burkinabe. That is what you call the people of Burkina Faso. And I happen to realize that the people of the Comoros Island, they are known as the Moron or the Moroni. I hear Kida always saying that the Africans are morons. If you tell that to the people of the Comoros Islands, they might not find it funny because their name, or we refer to the people of the Comoros Island as the Moroni or the Moron, and then you have an I there, which is the Moroni. No offense intended, no pun intended. But that is a beautiful people of Comoros Island. Are you saying yes? Tell it, beloved. Yes, that is what it is. And I would say for Keith giving the platform, of course, for the dissemination of our information, which is Blackwood Fan Network, and also for bringing people together on the tours that we have embarked on in 2018, 2019. In 2018, we did go to Rwanda. In 2019, we also went back to Rwanda again. In 2020, was it in 2020 when we went to Tanzania for the first time? In 2020, that is when we went to Tanzania. And also in 2021, in 2021, I think we have been in 2021 in Tanzania again. And then right now, we also do have the family also in Tanzania for the second time this year, which is really a beautiful thing, just getting to see what's good, what opportunities are lie there, and what can be done on the ground. It's really important. And it has been a delight all the way. Tanzania and Rwanda are beautiful places. Kenya is a beautiful place as well. So in case you do have some curiosity, and I believe curiosity is a good thing, if you do have curiosity about the continent and you want to reconnect to the continent, I think being on the Blackwood Fan Network, you are actually on the rightful channel, where you are in the company of people that are also looking at the same direction and also working or walking in the same strides in the same direction towards reconnecting and building the continent, which is also a wonderful thing happening right now. In 2019 was labeled as the year of return for by the West African nation of Ghana. And many people were able to do a Ghana, see what's good in Ghana, reconnect with Ghana. But I believe they should have also gone a step further in terms of facilitating the return by giving what do you call citizenship, by giving citizenship. That is what they did not get to give in citizenship. And even if they did get citizenship, they gave it was limited. I would have thought maybe it would have been wiser for them to do much more than that. We do have Sierra Leone expanse, not really in the same kind of an expanse, but for Sierra Leone, theirs is a bit skewed to or inclined to celebrating what did happen 200 years ago, which was a return of, was it 100 years ago? 200 years ago, which was a return of the Africans. It was 100 years, sorry, it was 100, which was the return of the people that were taken from the continent, taken to Europe, others taken to the US. And that is the kind of an approach that they are looking, the return of the people that were taken and they that returned 100 years ago. But it's also important that Sierra Leone also, if it's very serious, that it also offers citizenship. It would be really important than going beyond, not just saying this is a year of return or this is a year we mark the return of our people. That has already been done by Ghana, and I would say it did not really succeed very, very well, simply because they did not go the step further and providing citizenship for the people. An option for having citizenship for the people that came back. They should have done that, and that should have been crystallizing this agenda of theirs of having the people return back home on the continent. Apart from that, I would say Tanzania is also well poised in terms of its size. Tanzania is a very, very big country. And in terms of accommodating, the return or accommodating the returnees or the people that want to expatriate back on the continent, I would say that Tanzania stands a very beautiful chance. Because if you compare its size to another country, which is Rwanda is a tiny country, Burundi is a tiny country. Kenya can also be able to do the same. Kenya is big. It can also be able to have or accommodate people that want to expatriate back, or even people who just want to get citizenship and reconnect and return back to the motherland. That would also be wonderful. But Ghana has been seen to be on the front. And like I said, Sierra Leone right now is also doing the same. The only problem is with Sierra Leone and Liberia. These two countries they were established as lands of the freed. For Sierra Leone and Liberia, they were both established as such. And I keep my Ghana out of your mouth, by Solomon. You like playing a lot, Zero Mosquito, but I'm on a serious business talking about what is happening in Ghana. You can look for time for play later. Anyhow, I am just saying for Liberia and for Sierra Leone, they have also, trying to move in the same direction of, opening up their own country and saying that they are welcoming people back into these two countries. But the problem is they have not done enough. I would say they have not done enough. When you look at Sierra Leone, I have always said that Sierra Leone that the economy is not doing any good. We also do have a problem with the infrastructure. The infrastructure is also not any good in such a way that it will be welcoming people back. You also have to look into, if you're inviting people back or if you're inviting people to some place, you have to look at how the place looks like. And I would say maybe Sierra Leone should do much better in terms of infrastructure and in terms of also being serious about offering citizenship. That would be a good way to go. Not just talking about we are welcoming people into a country or to come back into a country and resettle here. A lot more has to be done, more than just that. But like I said, the network is doing wonderful. We do have Katie and Zobi and Sister Nish in Tanzania. At some point, that in times in previous in last year, or last year, but one in 2019, we did have also a bigger family. We did have the Golden Heart. We did have Sister Sylvia. We did have John. Now we did have Jima, Nish again, and among others that were with us on the tour to Tanzania. So it's really important that these tours, when you get the opportunity, family, to embark on these tours, they are really mind opening. And thanks to Black Otwa Network and Kid for putting up these, bringing up these opportunities for people on the network really to tour the continent, see what opportunities there are there, and from there you can make your own informed decision because you are on the ground. That is what I always do like to say. You are actually on the ground and you are there and you see it for yourself. You can make collective decisions as a group, or you can be as part of the network. You can make collective decisions as a group, but there is also an advantage of you going there personally, coming to Tanzania, coming to Rwanda, coming to Kenya, and you can make your own informed personal decisions. When it comes to relocating on the continent, that's a very big step that you have to make. You cannot just wake up one day, say, okay, now I'm leaving everything behind and I'm going to the continent, I'm going to reconnect, I'm going to resettle, and that's that. You cannot just do that. But I'm saying there are decisions that are made collectively, and the decisions that you want to make from a personal perspective. And it's important that when you get these opportunities to come to the continent, please grab them. Join the family, join the network, come see what we're talking about. And then from there, you will be able to be at a much better position to make your own informed decisions. But anyhow, family, welcome to the People for Correspondence Show. Cesar Ribiera, big shout out to you as well. Also for the work that you are doing. General Mosquito. I don't know. I remember a joke you were telling me yesterday or the day before. I really can't remember. But anyhow, I want to share with us some Bukinabe words of wisdom. And I was saying the people of Burkina Faso, they are known as Bukinabe. The people of Comoros Island, they are known as the Moroni, or the Moron with an I, Moroni. But anyhow, Bukinabe proverbs, there is two interesting ones that I want to share with us. Actually, three interesting ones I wanted to share with us. One of them reads, forgiveness, tolerance, and wisdom are the language of strong men. Forgiveness, tolerance, and wisdom are the language of strong men. And of course, there is also another one which reads, that which is hard is good. That which is hard is good. Whatever is easy brings no benefit. Whatever is easy brings no benefit. So this is also simplified in another saying that says, easy come, easy go. So I would say that which is hard is good, because whatever comes easy really might not have a long-lasting benefit. It might be there for a minute. It's easy come, easy go. And also the Bukinabe men and women also agree to the fact that whatever is hard is good. Whatever is easy brings no benefit. And that also inspires people to take on the virtue of hard work. It's one thing to work in smart, but it's one thing to work in a hard, but you also need to work smart. But it's also important to realize the essence, all the parts hard work plays in regards to success, and that is also important. And the other one reads, the last Bukinabe proverb, it reads, even if the soil is fertile, you have to work hard. Once again, underscoring the importance of a hard work. Even if the soil is fertile, you still need to work hard. It doesn't mean because the soil is fertile, the crops will grow by their own selves. You don't need to tend the crops because the soil is good. No, even if the soil is fertile, you still need to put in a lot of work to make sure that you're getting productivity from this soil. Apart from that, I want to go into other matters to do with Burkina Faso, not just with their knowledge, but Burkina Faso is a country that has witnessed a coup. Earlier this year, there was a coup in Burkina Faso. And yesterday I was talking about Mali. Even in Mali, you also did have a coup a few years ago. It was in, I believe, in 2019, 2018. There was a coup. Apart from that, we have seen a coup also in Ivory Coast. We have seen a coup in Guinea. So it seems like in this whole West African region, and I'm talking specifically about former French colonies, they have had the same problems going back even into historical times. They did have, the problem of a coups. Burkina Faso, and this led to the removal of one leader who is known as a Thomas Sankara. He is considered to be a revolutionary and also an Afro, what do you call it? He's also an Africanist, a Pan-Africanist, sorry. And Thomas Sankara, he was removed out of his position as a head of the nation in Burkina Faso in 1984. Sorry, in 1987. I think he got into power in 1984. He ran the country. He ran the country till 1987, and in 1987, there was a coup, and this coup was led by the one and only Blaise Compaoré. who then became the president. He became the president for this particular country and ran it from 1987 to 2014. And this Blaise Compaoré, he was a politician who was working very, very closely. He was an associate of the former president Thomas Sankara during the 1980s. And like I did say, in the 1980s, Thomas Sankara also became a president through a coup. And then even for him, he was removed out of power through a coup in 1987 by one of his close associates. That is what I do say. That is when I do say that in this region, it seems like the history, or coups have become like a normalcy. It's the thing that has happened since 1984. Before 1984, we also did have another coup conducted, and this is how the history has been. But why am I talking about this particular coup of 1987? I am talking about this coup of 1987 because it led to the killing of this Pan-Africanist. His name was Thomas Sankara, and I would say it was as a result of a betrayal. And of course, I would also say that the French also had an interest, in this region, because of course this was a former French colony, and therefore they would take one individual like this Thomas Sankara, who was seen to be doing in the interest of the people, and get rid of him and plant a puppet for their own interest. That is exactly what did happen. So right now, in 1987, there was a removal of the leadership of Thomas Sankara. He was removed from power, and instead there was a new leadership by Blaise Compaoré. But right now, in 1987, going back to 1987, there was the assassination of him, there was assassination and the killing of Thomas Sankara, who is very much celebrated in Burkina Faso. But no one was brought to book, for the murder or for the assassination of Thomas Sankara for a period of 34 years. Since 1987, when he was assassinated and assassinated, and a new regime put in place. No one was really held accountable, But right now, there was a military tribunal that was set up, and this tribunal has ruled, has given a life imprisonment to Blaise Compaoré, who then took over power, who seized power in a 1983 coup. Who seized power in 1987. Who seized power in 1987 from a coup. But this is 34 years down the line after the assassination of Thomas Sankara. And like I said, he was assassinated through the help of one of his compatriots, who was Blaise Compaoré. So more than 34 years after Thomas Sankara was assassinated, a trial to establish the facts has taken place. For some, justice has been delayed for decades, and right now it has finally been served. Some 34 years after the killing of the former Burkina Faso leader Thomas Sankara, closure over his untimely death that ended the revolutionary reign in 1987 appears to have begun. A military tribunal was set up. It started its sitting in October last year and has delivered its verdict on Wednesday, the day before yesterday, sentencing to life imprisonment some of the people who played a role in Thomas Sankara's assassination. Key among those who were sentenced include the former friend and compatriot Blaise Compaoré, with whom he seized power in a 1983 coup. So for Thomas Sankara and Blaise Compaoré, they took over power through a military coup. And then Thomas Sankara ran the country till 1987, and his friend, who was Blaise Compaoré, and others in the military, they also organized a coup against him, and they got rid of him, and they also assassinated him. So the former chief warrant officer in Compaoré Presidential Guard, his name is Hyacinthe Kafando, who is also in the run, was also given a life sentence, but the two men were tried in absentia, and Compaoré has been living in exile in Ivory Coast, which is also in West Africa. So I would say, even if this justice has been served, it still really hasn't been achieved, because both of them these are Jacinda Kafando. He was actually on the run. And we also do have now these Blaise Compaore also living in exile in Ivory Coast. So you cannot say these both men have been comprehended, or they have actually been sent. They have actually been locked up. They are still not yet behind bars. That is the problem we do have with this particular one. Even if the pronouncements have been made, and right now they have been sentenced to life in prison, they are not there to serve this life imprisonment. So that is the problem. So the former country's president, his name is Compaore, he has been sentenced to life imprisonment on April 6, 2022, for his role in the assassination of his predecessor, Thomas Sankara, who was killed with 12 others in a coup d'etat in 1987. And this is a man I am talking about. Let me share these. This is a man I am talking about here. Blaise Compaore. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it well. This is the man I'm talking about. He was the ex-president running the country from 1987 to 2014, which is really a long time, you know. But he was actually a French puppet, doing the bidding for the French and serving as a gatekeeper for the French. But finally, right now, this sentence has been handed over. The problem is, if you're tried in absentia and also you have not been apprehended, it means that there is a problem with that as well. You know, even if you have been tried in absentia and you are also given a life imprisonment and you are in Ivory Coast, that is also problematic. You know, and also the person who was also a co-accused with him, he has also been tried in absentia. Apologies, family, for the noise. We have a bit of the problem with the noise here coming from the outside, but that is a problem. You're saying Thomas Sankara died at very young spikes. Yes, he did. The problem is, I believe he put in so much trust with his compatriots in the military, and these people betrayed his trust. And these people, I'm talking about Blaise. Let me share these images here. Blaise, this is the man I'm talking about, Blaise. I would say that maybe perhaps Thomas Sankara should have not put his trust in this man who took over from him. And this is a man who also understood him and knew him very well, because they were also partners in the struggle when they also took over power in 1984 from a military coup. So this is a man who knew him very, very well, Blaise Compaore. But we would actually use the name of frenemy on him, because he was a friend, but he was a fake friend who was an enemy, and waiting for a perfect opportunity for him to take over from Thomas Sankara. And therefore, they murdered him, they assassinated him, and it was a very, very brutal assassination of Thomas Sankara. So this was him in 2012. He was speaking at a journalist in Paris, and I was saying that for most West African leaders that we have had, all of them have been put there by the French to serve the purpose of puppets, you know, being a gatekeepers of the West, and make sure that there is the continued control of the French. Even if we do have black presidents, you know, you will say, okay, we do have a black leader. It's not the French who are in control. This is a leader who is put there to serve as a puppet. You know, he's a front, but at the back, the people who are really running the show, the puppet masters, or the puppet masters are the French. And this is what has happened, not just for Burkina Faso. You also have the same happening in Mali, where we have also had a history of a coups. We have also had a coup in Ivory Coast. We have had a coup in Guinea, where we did have the removal of Alpha Conde. Alpha Conde is also another leader who also wanted to run this particular country with an iron fist. Of course, that did not happen because he was also removed. But this is the way French West Africa or West Africa gets to run. Even when it comes to the independence in terms of their monetary system, we cannot really talk about a monetary system that is independent of the French. What we have had is really West African countries using the francas, like the franc, using the francs. We also do have the use of francs in a country such as Rwanda. We also do have the use of francs in almost all the 10 former West African French colonies. That is them also being tapped onto the monetary system of the French. And when they did make an attempt about 2 years ago, they made an attempt to detether or to remove themselves from these French monetary system. That sparked a problem with the French and these countries, to a point that the French president Emmanuel Macron even had to come and go to West Africa to sort of speak to these leaders. He made a couple of tours to West Africa to sort of look after the French interest, not after the West African people's interest, but after the French interest in West Africa. So the former Burkina Faso president, Blaise Compaoré, has been jailed for life for his role in the assassination of revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara. The sentencing of Compaoré by a military court on Wednesday crowns a 6-month trial of 14 men accused of killing Sankara on October 15, 1987. A prosecution marked by a grim testimony and disrupted by a military coup. Of course, we have also had a coup. Now, the problem is there was this military court that was set up to investigate or to conduct the investigation on the killing of Thomas Sankara. But even when they were continuing with the sitting, which started in October last year, another coup did happen. So you're going to talk about a coup and find out how you can actually deliberate on the matter of a coup that happened in 1984. And when you are amid the trial, another coup also happens, which is really rather funny, I would say. Sounds like a satire. But the revered among the Pan-African radicals, Sankara was an army captain, aged just 33 when he came into power from a coup in 1983. So he was really, really young. The fiery Marxist-Leninist railed against imperialism and colonialism, often angering Western leaders, but gaining followers across the continent and beyond. He and his 12 colleagues were gunned down by a hit squad on October 15, 1987, at a meeting of the ruling National Revolutionary Council. The massacre coincided with a coup that took Sankara's erstwhile comrade, Compaoré, to power. So this is him, and he was actually murdered. There are some soldiers, Burkina soldiers, who admitted to their role in the killing of Thomas Sankara. And like I was saying a little bit earlier, this is African history. I would believe that Burkina Faso would have been a whole different country right now if at all we still did have Thomas Sankara, running the country for more years, because for him, he spoke against colonialism. And when French was leaving its colonies on the continent, they made the leaders that were put in power to sign a document which would allow for the continuation of colonization on these countries. The 10 of them, I believe there are 10 of them, the 10 of them to continue to allow the continuation of colonization. So for a man like Thomas Sankara, who was speaking against colonization, he would not have been the man that the French would come around, mess around with, talking about you have to continue paying this and that amount of money, and you have to continue giving us this and that amount of resources. Thomas Sankara would not have gone along with that idea, and that is why they decided to use someone who was very, very close to him, Blaise Compaoré, who also took over power from 1987 and to 2014, which is really also a very, very long time for one leader to be running a country for all these years unopposed. Of course, there was voices of a dissent, but that is not what did happen. This was Captain Thomas Sankara, the president of Burkina Faso. 14 people are on trial for the 1987 assassination in Sankara, and 12 others were cut down in a hail of bullets at a top government meeting. There was the assassination, which was really brutal, and it was done by people that were very, very close to his circle, which is really betrayal. But anyhow, family, moving on a little bit further from that, I want to share with us some other African news from the continent of Africa, and I want to talk about the issue that is going on right now in Cameroon. In Cameroon, we have had an outbreak of cholera, and it doesn't come as a surprise to me when you look at these outbreaks on the continent, that most of these outbreaks, I would say, are sort of there is a human hand into these outbreaks. If you ask me, I believe there is a human hand into these particular outbreaks that are witnessed on the continent. And now they are organizing a health response to deal with this outbreak. We do have the outbreaks of cholera, and the outbreaks of measles, the outbreaks of Ebola. the outbreaks of other different diseases. And it's funny how that most of these outbreaks are also in given countries. It does not just happen in there are some countries that have been cut out, if I might say. There are some countries that have been cut out. For example, here the DRC Congo, where you will hear of the outbreaks of the cholera. You will hear of the outbreaks in Sierra Leone and Liberia. You'll also hear about the outbreaks also in Cameroon. These are some of the countries that you will mainly hear these outbreaks happening. I believe also in Malawi, there was a time in Malawi, the outbreaks that did happen in Malawi, but that did not last for long. So there is a health response in cholera, and they are saying right now that the government is organizing a coordinated response for this cholera outbreak after many deaths in Cameroon. The cholera unit is at the Buea Hospital, which has seen an influx in the cases in the recent weeks. According to the director, the situation is now stabilizing. The situation has indeed stabilized. We have had many cases. We have had a cumulative of 350 cases of patients who have been treated following this disease, and among them we have had 6 deaths from cholera. At the moment, we have 9 patients hospitalized because we released some of them earlier this morning. These are according to Dr. Martin Mokake, the director of Buea Regional Hospital. While the cholera pandemic situation seems to be improving here in Buea, in the southwest region of the capital, towns such as Limbe and Tiko remain the spotlight with nearly 100 new infections, as announced by the Cameroonian Minister of Public Health in a tweet that was put out on April 5th. If Buea is beginning to have some respite, this is not the case in Tikom, where the majority of the beds are still occupied. So I would say when you do have these outbreaks, some of them I do see an influence which is man-made. And therefore, I would say most of the times we do hear about these particular cases, we have the loss of lives. For example, we do hear with this particular when you have about 350 cases, and then you have had 6 deaths. The number, of course, sometimes might be underreported. I would think that the goal with these particular outbreaks is to reduce the population. This is a way of reducing the population in these particular places, in both in Cameroon, in the DRC Congo, and also in places like Malawi, and also Sierra Leone and Liberia. Those are places mostly that you do hear of outbreaks of diseases, virus, and other things that come up and affect or reduce the populations in these particular areas, which is really rather unfortunate. But the government should also make sure that they strengthen the healthcare systems so that even if that is a target, a biological weapon target, they are also able to be more resilient in terms of protecting the people from these sabotage or the attacks. You might call them so, because that is exactly what they are in that particular country. Anyhow, we shall be taking a short music break. When we come back, we shall be talking about the marking of 28 years since the genocide in Rwanda that took place in 1994. And we shall be talking about some of the lessons learned. And then from there, we shall delve into the matter of the looming food and hunger crisis, coming up on the continent of Africa. But that is right after this small music break. As I take a sip of water here. Then when we get back, we shall be speaking about Rwanda, Burkina Faso, and other African countries in the likelihood or the danger of facing hunger. Yes, welcome back to the broadcast. That was just a small break to sip some water there. But today we are discussing different matters. Of course, this is a Fit for Correspondence show on the Black Hot Fan Network, where we get to update you on what is happening on the continent. Therefore, if you are a person who has a lot of interest in getting to understand the continent a little bit much better, then the Fit for Correspondence show is the rightful platform for you. And for today, I will be taking us all the way to Rwanda. Rwanda is a small country, very tiny. Actually, it's the size of a province in Kenya. You would compare that to a province like maybe perhaps the Eastern Province in Kenya, which is rather big. But we do have Burundi and Rwanda. For me, I always do say that maybe perhaps Burundi and Rwanda should have been still remain as part of Tanzania. That would be much better. Would make much more sense. Tanzania is rather big. It's really, really big. I think also Rwanda is the size of a province in Tanzania. I would assume, for example, maybe Mwanza, or maybe other different provinces are in Tanzania. But I won't take us to Rwanda. And in Rwanda, they are marking 28 years since the genocide did take place in 1994. It's also known as a genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda. And of course, when we get to April, there is always a commemoration event. When we were in Rwanda with the Black Hot Far family, that was in 2019, April, we were able also to catch up with the commemorations, and we went to the museum where they do get to show the history of this genocide that took place in Rwanda in 1994. And there have been so many lessons learned from this, because these are communities. There are actually 3 tribes. There are 3 ethnic groups in Rwanda, which is quite unlike other African countries. If you go to Cameroon, you will find many ethnic groups. If you go to Ethiopia, you'll find 81. If you go to Eritrea, you'll find 11. If you come to Kenya, you'll find 47. But for Rwanda, which is also comes as a surprise, in Rwanda, there are only 3 of them. Actually, they are known as the Hutus. The Hutu is one ethnic group. You have the Tutsi, which is also another ethnic group. And you have the third one, which is Toa. Not even have Toa is a minority. Toa is really a minority in this country. So right now, this is 28 years after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. The stain of shame is still enduring in this particular country. But I would say they have made many steps. They have made many steps towards bringing people together, unifying people in Rwanda. Right now, if you go to Rwanda, it's a crime. I believe it's a crime in Rwanda, going up and trying to start this commission about what tribe are you, what tribe is allowed here, what tribe is not allowed here. That cannot be allowed to happen, because they have learned their lessons since the 1994 genocide. And we have also had France. France also did make an apology for their involvement in that particular genocide. And also, the rest of the continent of Africa did fail Rwanda. For example, the African Union. The African Union also did fail Rwanda in 1994 April, when we did have the genocide, which lasted for about a month, in 30 days. And in these 30 days, close to 1 million people, were killed in a genocide. Even till today, there are some bodies, or there are some remains of bodies that are found in different places in Rwanda that have not been discovered before. Mass graves in some areas, which really earlier on had not been discovered. So the UN paid tribute on Thursday, April 7th, to the 1 million people who were murdered in 100 days. It actually took place 100 days, not 30 days. It's 100 days, sorry for that. It took place, 1 million people were killed in a period of about 3 months in Rwanda. And the United Nations also should not be paying any tribute, because they also failed Rwanda, because there were reports that had been given, intelligence reports about the escalation and a possible war, internal war in Rwanda. And I was saying it was not just an internal war, because for the people that were involved in this genocide, the Hutus killing the Tutsis. Of course, there were also Tutsis that killed the Hutus. But the thing is, we would have neighbors that had coexisted for a long time. For example, you all live in there in 1993. Your next door neighbor is actually a Tutsi. You even do not really bother about knowing about whether they are Tutsi. You're just one and the same people. But because of escalation over this hatred amongst these 2 tribes, these eventually sparked a genocide that took place in 1994 in April. There is a movie which has been done by Idris Elba. I believe it's known as Sometimes in April. And for those of us that have maybe perhaps checked it out, you remember it was also acted, depicting these times in April when 1 million people were killed in 30 days, in 100 days, 100 days. I always keep on saying 30 days. It's 100 days, which is about 3 months in this nation, which is tiny. When I look at the population of Rwanda right now, just to get an understanding about the population of Rwanda, let me see what the population is right now. That is not what I meant to play. Let me just share what I meant to play. Let me just share this briefly so you can see what was done in terms of capturing what did happen.
This is going to be the first big movie about London. I knew that somehow I had to make this film. Hutus and Tutsi were living together forever.
Assistant Secretary, the rebel forces, are they Tutu or Hutsi?
Hutu and Tutsi.
Which ones are the good guys?
Can you imagine in 94 when you were being asked to cut that now, move on? You and you and you and you. We need to, and choose, because if you don't choose, you're going to get shot.
If you want to help, give him a machete. Don't waste bullets on cockroach traitors.
The particularity of the 94 genocide is that there was a trained militia who were ready to once for all get rid of all Tutsis.
Hutus here, Tutsis there. Now,
The understanding that it was pervasive all over the country is insane.
I was interested in trying to explain the whole political background around a genocide. I was not interested in doing a sort of a black Schindler list.
I play Captain Augustin Muganza, who is a soldier, a married man, has kids. New Augustin is the storyline you kind of follow throughout the film.
I play Honoré Butera. He's a journalist. He works for a Hutu extremist.
Augustin and Honoré are two brothers that love each other dearly, but they are forced apart by their opinions and their politics. Are you talking about a coup?
Augustin, this is war.
In this movie, I'm playing Jeanne, so this is the wife of Augustine.
In 94, Augustin had asked his brother to take care of his family, and he never saw his family again.
I'm playing the part of a woman called Martine Kamanza, who is the girlfriend to the lead character, Oresta. As he's discovering himself, she's also beginning to try to come to terms with the events that happened to her.
This is a very tragic, almost Shakespearean situation. This being torn between the love and the hate.
Rwanda's beautiful. They say that God built it, and this is where he comes to sleep.
It was not the easiest choice to shoot there, but I couldn't imagine shooting this film anywhere else. It was not an easy situation sometimes for some of the people working with us.
Sometimes for me it's hard because I'm an artist. After that, then I can remember, oh, it's a movie.
I understood every character in that script because I've lived it.
I have to preserve myself. I know I have to take distance because I'm not talking about a story so far from me.
I wanted to
That is a little bit of a conversation about the movie, which is known as Sometimes in April. And this movie, of course, captures what did happen in 1994 in Rwanda. We do have Idris Elba. He played a role on it. We also did have that other woman, a South African actor as well, also bringing out what did happen in 1994 when we did have militia groups organized along our ethnic lines, the Hutus organizing and going out on a massacre and killing the Tutsis. And this is now 28 years down the line. Every other April, there is a commemoration, which is known as a Kwimbuka. In Kenya, Rwanda, Kwimbuka simply means remember, commemorate. And now, of course, really just finding ways of continuing to get past that difficult past, and it's still difficult for many. So the UN did pay tribute, and it is also just funny that the UN is paying tribute, but they also failed. And the rest of the world also failed Rwanda because they did see within the 100 days, before Kagame stepped in. Kagame stepped in 1994, and he is considered as a hero or as a savior. But I would say I cannot rule out the possibility that he is not really a hero. I'm yet to find out more. But of course, with the help, I understand, of Museveni, they also launched an attack called the counter-offensive against these groups, the trained militia that were also involved in orchestrating this violence against the Tutsis. And they won, and they took back the control of the country in 1994. And since 1994, Kagame has been the leader of this country. Is like a lifetime leader of the country. That's quite a long time. 1994. That is 28 years in power. But for him, he did say that he wants to ensure a peaceful handover of power, which I don't believe this will happen in the near future. I do not see Kagame leaving power in the near future. He might continue running the country. For right now, he has run it for 28 years. So I do see these are also continuing maybe perhaps for like 35 or 40. I'm sure. But anyhow, that was a war that took place in 19, not really a war, but the massacre, genocide of our people. But I would say I would also like to commend Kagame's leadership for bringing people back together. I was saying in other countries where we have also had a long history of a civil war, ethnicity also plays a very, very big part. Because, for example, in Angola, there was a civil war. In Sierra Leone, there was also civil war. In Liberia, there has also been a civil war. In Sudan, there has also been a civil war in the Darfur region. In many parts of the continent where we have had war, ethnicity also plays a key factor. Because you will now say, for example, in Darfur, in Sudan, that this community is against us because they are trying to take over our resources in terms of our grazing field, in terms of other resources that we might have been in control of. They are trying to exterminate us and take over our lands. It's always a factor. And even when it comes to elections on the continent, we hear of post-election violence. For example, in Kenya in 2007, and post-election violence is also based on tribes. So this tribe is not what we are not representing in this government. The same thing also happening in Ethiopia with the Tigray. The Tigrinya people feel that the Oromia people have taken over, and they have no place in the government. They have no place in that particular country, so they do not have a hold of power. And so this is also another tribal war, which has not helped anything. Tribalism really has not helped anything on the continent of Africa. And it seems like it's taking way too long, the African to realize to move away from tribalism and start building together in unison. It does not help in any kind of a way. But these are lessons that was learned also from also in 1994 in Rwanda. So the testament of healing, they say today Rwanda stands as a powerful testament of human spirit, ability to heal even at the deepest wounds and emerge from the darkest depths to rebuild a stronger society. And it's really, really difficult. This is the UN. This is Mr. Guterres of the UN who was talking about this. But also saying the rest of the continent also failed. It failed Rwanda in this difficult time. 100 days, people fighting and killing each other. 1 million people dying, from this. 1 million people dying from this. The current population of Rwanda, let me see how many people. The current population is 1.2, it's 12, not 1.2, it's 12.9 million, according to statistics from 2020. So let me see, what was the population of Rwanda in 1994? In 1993, before these genocide. The population of Rwanda, around the time when we did have this genocide taking place, the population of Rwanda was 6.2 million. This was the population, 6.2 million. So you can only imagine that if you have a population of 6 and you kill a whole 1 million, you take back this country decades behind, because now for the population to grow with 1 million, it also takes time. But anyhow, this was a depth of that. I remember the film Hotel Rwanda, and they are saying one of the characters in that Hotel Rwanda was also locked up. He was also tried and found guilty. He was complicit in some way. Sister Michelle, you saying a good morning. A good morning to you too. It's actually close to, it's actually 25 minutes to 4 p.m. right here in Nairobi. But thank you so much for joining us. So if you haven't watched that movie, please make sure you watch it. There's a film known as Hotel Rwanda. There's also another film known as Sometimes in April. So those are two films. One of them, Sometimes in April, is the one that cast Idris Elba. And I think he also did a wonderful job with that. Around this particular time of the year in Rwanda, it's always raining. It's a beautiful place in Rwanda. If you have never been to Rwanda, thanks to the Black Fan Network, I have the opportunity to go to Rwanda in 2019. It's a beautiful place. It's called Vivad in Kigali, which is known as the city of 1,000 hills. The scenery is beautiful. The people are very much welcoming. I don't think anyone will be asking you what tribe you are from. And therefore, if you're looking for a place that really has dealt with tribalism, so you would find it there in Rwanda. Very, very beautiful place. If you're ever looking for a place to go to visit, tour Tanzania, tour Rwanda. And the other day I was talking about Cape Verde. I was giving praises to Cape Verde, but seems like Cape Verde is now also slowly becoming a haven for drugs. So I might take back my own words on Cape Verde. I was saying it's a beautiful place of an island country of West Africa, but there was a bust operation by the police, and they did seize over 5 tons of cocaine in Cape Verde, and it's really bad to hear a country like this is now being used for the purposes of trading drugs. The Cape Verdean police said on Wednesday evening they had seized more than 5 tons of cocaine at sea on board a fishing boat from Brazil with the help of American agents. It also arrested 5 Brazilians and 2 Montenegrins. This is one of the largest drug seizures in Cape Verde, the police did say. And Cape Verdean police also arrested 5 Brazilians and 2 Montenegrins traffickers, the people of Montenegro. And of course, on board, a Panamanian flagged vessel that left South America for Morocco with a Russian crew. So we have the Russians, we have the people of Panama and Montenegro as well, the Brazilians are now using this island, as a haven to trade their drugs, which is crazy. So I might reconsider my praise for Cape Verde. I was saying it's a place you would think that you are in Portugal, because for them in Cape Verde they have inherited or they have taken over the culture of the Portuguese, then they have embraced their own, which is a very, very big problem. But anyhow, family, today I also want to focus on the looming hunger, and it's sad to see that African governments really are always on the reactive side instead of being proactive. Instead of being proactive in the sense that they can make sure that there is a provision of farm inputs. There is the adoption of irrigation in terms of large-scale farming of rice and other things like that. They would maybe perhaps look for things or for solutions that we can adopt. For example, irrigation, when we do have a prolonged period of dry seasons, we can maybe perhaps opt to go towards using irrigation. Some irrigation schemes have worked. We do have also do have other ways in which the government might also step up in terms of getting to avert these crises. So the report has come out and it says that according to Oxfam is this NGO, a non-governmental organization which also puts numbers together when it comes to research on food and preparedness for hunger. So Oxfam is saying that 28 million people across East Africa are at the risk of extreme hunger as rain fails again. So these areas that we are talking about right now, they include the Horn of Africa, which is in Ethiopia. And of course, we all understand that in Ethiopia, because of the prevailing conditions, we had a war going on in Ethiopia since November 2019. And therefore, people have not been engaged in productive farming. There is no way you're going to be involved in farming and you are in a period of war. Many people are displaced internally. Others are displaced to the level of going and looking for refuge in the neighboring countries, Sudan and and other countries, in even Uganda. So as many as 28 million people across East Africa are at the risk of extreme hunger if the rain falls again. The rain patterns right now are unpredictable, but of course, they are saying the global food and commodity prices spiking in reaction to Ukraine crisis via food insecurity. As many are facing severe hunger if the March rain fails, they have failed or they are late with the unfolding crisis in Ukraine. Taking their attention, there is a great real danger in the international community to respond to the escalating food crisis in East Africa. So we are talking about Ethiopia, we are talking about Somalia, we are talking about the northern part of Kenya, we are talking about some parts also of Sudan, yes, Sudan as well, and both Sudan and South Sudan. So these are the places we are talking about being that will be affected heavily by the lack of by prolonged periods without rain. And if the governments right now do not look into ways of actually seeing how we can mitigate this, then we're going to have a problem. In some countries, we have had the problem of getting access to the food on time, and I would blame this also on the barriers to trade, because you might find maybe in a neighboring country there's a surplus for commodities such as maize and other cereals, but because of the restrictions that they are in trade, you do find that the commodity is not traded now. Maybe perhaps I use a country, maybe perhaps like Zimbabwe. Sometimes Ghana, sometimes they have a surplus for maize, which of course would be traded with the neighboring countries that are in the danger of getting famine or in hunger. So I would say if the governments, in African governments, were also to foster or remove these barriers in trade, then it would mean that maybe perhaps this food would get to people in good time. In Tigray, we have heard about the humanitarian assistance going on in Tigray right now. That will not be enough for the short term. Much more needs to be done. But even apart from that, we need to also remove the barriers, and we also need to adopt crops, the farming of crops on the continent that are drought resistant, or how can I say it? These are crops that would also grow and survive even when you do have prolonged periods of prolonged periods that we go without rain. In some cases, you will find a country like Somalia, maybe a whole year no rain, and maybe like 8 months followed no rain, and therefore you would expect that these particular places, maybe the only assistance can come is maybe perhaps adopting the planting or the farming of crops that are drought resistant. They can survive even when you do have prolonged periods of rains. But of course, the governments in these areas, the only thing that is happening is that we are always reactive. We always wait until we don't have rains. But even in the short time, when you do have some rains for a smaller season, we find that we are not taking the most. We are not taking advantage of these seasons. In some places we have the short rains and then the long rains. We start with the short rains and then the long rains. But even when you have the short rains, we not even have the harvesting of these water. For example, in Somalia, you will hear of floods in Somalia. And then after that, you will hear now drought, prolonged periods without rain. So I would say if we did have better ways of getting to capture this water and using it for a good purpose in terms of farming, then maybe perhaps it will not be where we are getting to right now. But there also needs to be a much more concerted approach in terms of bringing together the private sector and also the government sector, because if there is a coordination between the government and the private sector, as always, then maybe perhaps we'll be able to approach these hunger in a much better way, because there has to be coordinated effort in terms of sharing all distributing things like fertilizers. That would also help in a way. But when you do not have rainfall, that is also a problem. So the government needs to also engage the communities and also the private sector in terms of getting to find solutions and not just waiting for the West, because that has been the biggest problem. African countries are always waiting on Europe. They are always waiting for support from the UN, support from Oxfam, support from whomever. but we need to start now having that mentality of doing for our own, and also having long-term planning. If you look at long-term planning, we are failing as a continent of Africa because we want to look at the short term. We need to look at long-term planning so that we can assure that our people have food when they need, and have food even in times like this when it's going, or things are not going very, very well. For livestock, for human lives, these will be lost in the short term if something is not really done right now to avert these crises. And of course, in some areas, the sting is already being felt. In some places, we have had a loss of livestock in these northern parts of Kenya, and also in Ethiopia and Somalia, we have had a loss of livestock, but much more needs to be done to also avert, much more losses than have been felt already on this part of the East African continent, East African nations. Anyhow, family, we are winding up on today's broadcast of the 54 Corresponding Show. We always invite our opinions. We always invite our suggestions and our solutions from you. I like to consider this show as a think tank, an African think tank. Even if you do have suggestions that might be implemented maybe in the future, not necessarily right now, you can still also share with us, because we are all about building up Africa and also building up our people around the world, wherever you might be. You might be in the diaspora, also on the continent. When we come together, we build as a people, regardless of where we are, because solutions can be applied anywhere. And that is what we are all about. So much peace and love. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the Black Earth Network family, and also for your support. Remember, those that are able to share the links, please make sure you continue sharing. And also for those that have supported us monetarily by giving donations, we also appreciate. We understand these times are difficult. So even for those who patronize and support the network, it might be difficult times, but we still value and appreciate the support that has been given to the Black Earth Network family. Make sure you join us on the Africa Today Show. We shall be there discussing other matters. But for now, I want to sign out. This has been a 54 Corresponding Show with the Black Earth Network Media for the 21st century. Enjoy the rest of your day, and remember to attack with optimism and a whole positive kind of a mind frame. Where your energy goes, where your focus goes, there your energy flows. And you need also to put your energy or commit your energy to the things that are positive.